The goal of Data Transformers podcast is to accelerate digital transformation by bridging the gap between business outcomes and rapidly advancing technologies. And we aim to bridge this gap by focusing on data. I am Peggy Tsai, top 50 women in tech influencer, co-author of the AI book, and data governance expert.
I'm Ramesh Danta, an entrepreneur, a tech blogger, and AI enthusiast.
Okay, yep.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Data Transformers. Today we have with us Debbie Reynolds, aka the Data Diva. So we're going to talk about what that means. But she's a leading global data privacy and protection expert, strategist, and speaker and author. Thank you, Debbie, for being with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's really exciting. I've been a fan of yours, Peggy, for a while. So it's nice that you asked me to be on your podcast.
Welcome, Debbie, and so join the Peggy Tsai fan club. So I'm one of her fans as well. So let's get. So good to have you here.
Thank you both.
So Debbie, recently in the news, you talked about partnering with the privacy and cookies team with your consulting company, Debbie Reynolds Consulting, on a data privacy risk index.
Yeah.
So love to hear more about what is this risk index about? How did you come about doing it, and what the implications are?
Sure. So Lawrence Shaw and Robert Andrews, who are part of the privacy and cookies team in the UK, they called me up several months ago, and we were just talking about just websites and how people navigate websites, and how it's a lot of times really confusing for privacy experts to find out what's happening with websites, or even where to start when they're trying to evaluate a company, or what they're doing with data. And a lot of times, being able to look at how websites are collecting information, or whether it's cookies or some other type of ways that they're looking at it. Like, I think this tool can track things, not just third-party cookies that the company put together, things like the database information is being captured in some way. So it's a quick, comprehensive, high-level look at what certain websites are putting out. And obviously, some companies are more complex, right? So they have many websites that you have to look at. But I thought this was like a fun, cool, interesting thing. And they called me up and said, hey, we're thinking, they've done it for kind of the London index. And they thought, let's do one for the Fortune 500. And then I said, yeah, that's a great idea. And they were like, well, let's do the Fortune 1000. So they went away for a couple of months and they've worked on it. So that's sort of how they created this index. It's been very popular, very well received. I know for me it helps. So it's kind of two parts. One is you can go on and look at the Fortune 1000 companies and look at their, website and cookie stuff, and it gives them a rating or a score based on, how many trackers are there. But then also you have an option. If you go to my website, you can click on the link and look at any website. So any website you want to put in, it'll give you the same kind of high level report of what they're tracking. And that may be, just educational for people. So it's been, a fun project. It's more just, a collaboration for people. They're very expert in websites in terms of, they work with a lot of government agencies and big companies. So that's kind of their bread and butter, to be able to find out, here are the privacy issues that you need to look at. And I think it's been really helpful for privacy professionals as a kind of a starting point if they're looking to evaluate companies, or even if they want to use a certain website.
That's great, Debbie. So the question I have is this privacy itself. Let's just defining privacy. There are a lot of aspects. So there's a data privacy, and there is a customer privacy, and then as a user of the internet, genuinely people are concerned about their own privacy. So if you could lay the groundwork for privacy, what are the things that it encompasses, and what is your focus?
Yeah. Good question. So I think about privacy as a right of an individual to be able to control their information in some way, or what's private and what isn't. And then so for data privacy, it's how does that right get articulated and how data is handled about individuals. So I help companies, I like to say, I help companies make privacy a business advantage, because sometimes companies can think of this like, oh my God, this privacy stuff is really giving me a headache. Where I'm saying, if you are, respecting the rights of individuals, you can make money, right? And you'll have more customers. So we're starting to see customers do things like, I think recently we saw when Facebook changed the WhatsApp privacy policy, people were just up in arms. And that kind of shocked me, because I thought, are that many people reading privacy policies now? I was happy that they were reading it, but the whole point is you want the customer to make an informed decision about whether they want to use a product or not. And from some of those people, they decided, some people say, okay, it doesn't bother me, so I'm going to continue to use this. But some people said, I want to go to a different company. And some of them did. I think they shut down a Signal server because so many people were trying to get on there to sign up. Yeah, right. But I think, that to me, that's illuminating to companies that privacy, we can scare you with fines and stuff, and you should do this or whatever. But, customers can make choices. They can change who they want to do business with. And I think that's going to be a big theme going forward in privacy. So I think companies that are taking privacy seriously will have better business advantage. And that's what I help companies do.
Right.
And Debbie, you mentioned the fact that you're surprised that consumers are reading those terms and agreements, right? When I think most users just automatically I accept, right? So aside from terms and agreements, going back to the risk index, it's cookies and the tracking. We're essentially allowing, as a consumer, I'm allowing myself to be tracked on, if I go onto a website through my IP setting. And what are the other ways that a consumer may not be aware that their privacy data is being given up when they click on the I accept button?
Yeah. I think one way that people don't even think about is on their phone. So a lot of times when you're downloading apps on your phone, even when the app is closed and you're not using it, you may have agreed for them to track things that you're doing on your phone, even if it's not open, or track even other apps. And a lot of people don't think about that. They think, if I'm in QuickBooks, for example, on my phone, I close it out, then it's not doing anything. That may not be true. So in terms of the terms and conditions and things that we click through, especially in apps, they're on a small screen. So you're not going to read 80 pages of anything on your phone. I hope not. But you're agreeing to a lot of this tracking. And I'm actually glad that Apple has come out with their iOS 14, where they're rolling out a lot of these privacy things, where they're letting you know, okay, if did you know that this is recording you? Did you know, are you sure that you want to share everything with, this particular application? And, even me as like almost a tinfoil hat type of privacy person, even some of the things that they let me know, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. Like for example, I wanted to upload something from I think G Drive or something to another app. So I use an app to read stuff to me, so I don't have to read it myself. But it gave me a warning. They were like, all I wanted to do was upload that one document to this app, right? And it gave me a warning and said, did you know if you said yes, that they can see everything in your G Drive, and they can do this and they can do that. And I thought, I don't want any of that. You know what I'm saying? So I think just bringing awareness to stuff like that is really important, because people just don't understand that.
So Debbie, there are two sides of this equation: the privacy and security to convenience aspect of it, right? So this is always seen as the more privacy or more security regulations compliance means less convenience, right? So for the user, right? And then we talked about the tracking of the usage of itself, right? But there's the privacy has more aspects, like the information that I provide to a company, right? So that's email or other information, that also needs to be private only for the purpose that I send it to, right? So then there's a password related aspect as well. So given this balance of a privacy versus convenience, where is it shifting to right now? So are people, consumers, majority of them accepted? I mean, the WhatsApp thing, I understand what happened, but have accepted that, okay, fine, more privacy means less convenience for me, so I'm willing to live with less privacy for more convenience. Has the pendulum shifted one way or the other over the last few years, and where is it now?
That's a good question. That's a great question, actually. So normally people say privacy versus security, but you're saying privacy versus convenience. The one reason why companies are able to get people to agree to something is because they make it very convenient. It's obviously more convenient for you to click on a say yes to use something you want right this second than to read 80 pages. So, that's always the choice. Is like, choose what you want to do now for a future harm that you don't know about. And most people say yes. So I think it's important that people who are creating like privacy centric tools, they need to keep convenience in mind. It should be as convenient to protect your privacy as it is to give it away. So I think that's very important, because I was talking to someone about this yesterday where, a lot of people aren't going to go through a lot of hoops to protect their privacy, because they're going to do what's convenient for them. So let's make what's convenient for them also what's most secure for them.
So Debbie, I'd love to get your opinion on like new technologies that are certainly coming out, but may not have the privacy by design features built in. First of all, what are your thoughts on not just that in itself? And then secondly, the concrete example that has a lot of privacy experts up in arms was Clubhouse, right? The fact that it allows you're giving up your access to your entire phone book contacts just to join and participate in a new platform. So do you think that the shift is strong enough for companies to release these type of new technologies, but not have the privacy embedded in it? I'm just like so surprised in this day and age that can even happen.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, I think some of these apps or the things, the reason why they're free is because, when you have a free app, you get to agree to a lot of things, so the sky is almost the limit of what they can get you to agree to. So if you pay for the app, it would be different. So there would be different laws that would apply, different rules would apply, because then you can say, I'm giving X for this particular value, and you can kind of say that they are equal or in some way, right? Where when you're giving an app for free, what you give up is unequal. So the unequalness of it, I think, becomes part of the reason why a lot of these apps are free. Like, so let's say if Clubhouse costs $1,000 a year for you to join, you probably say, no, I don't want to do that. But they may make $1,000 from you, just because you join for free. So that's just one of those things. So, I think, when people were upset about Clubhouse taking your contacts, a lot of apps do that. A ton of apps do that. And I've gotten notices for years where they're like, oh, you want to share your contacts? Absolutely not. I almost always say no. I don't think I've ever said yes, because I'm like, why would you need my contact? But other things that we use our contact list too. So for that reason, I wasn't super upset about what Clubhouse is doing. They're basically doing what other things are doing. I give you an example. So if you have a phone and you're driving your car and you use Bluetooth to connect your phone, like I do that, play music or whatever, they download your contact list and they don't ask you, they just do it, and they update it every time you connect your Bluetooth. So where does that data go? no one is asking that question. And that's something that all of us deal with almost every day. If you have a car, you connect Bluetooth.
So I think, Debbie, actually on that front, looks like the privacy related complaints issues come, if I see them, let me just state it and see if this makes sense to you. One is my own privacy. Let's say if I sign up for Debbie Reynolds Consulting Company, right? So I'm going to provide my information to you and I expect you to keep my information private, right? And the issue comes when you go and sell that or you share that with some other person, then, okay, it may be okay, depends on the value of the other person. I may be okay, but just not you telling me that you're sharing, that's one aspect of it, right? The second aspect, what we just talked about, this app called Clubhouse, where then now you're also able to collect my friends' contacts information. They themselves have not given me permission to share with you, but your app has the ability, right? So that's where the issues come in, where I'm okay sending it to you, but you either sharing my information or my other people contacts information, you're taking it without permission. So that's where the issue comes. And then to some extent, GDPR, CCPAs, those have addressed where you cannot share my information with other people without my permission, right? So then I should have. But looks like we still have not addressed this, issue that we're talking about, where apps like Clubhouse or apps like a Facebook, or where they have almost like a right to take my contacts information without any regulations. Is this did I lay it out properly, the issues here?
Yeah, well, the issue is consent, right? So you can consent to almost anything. There is very few limits to consent. So you can't sell your limbs. That's like your organs. That's illegal, right? But beyond that, there's very little there's so much you can consent to. So the way Clubhouse works is that you get an invite from someone, you go on the Clubhouse, register, and then they say you get to invite 2 people to Clubhouse, but you have to give up your contact list. So that is the exchange right there. So they're like, you can't invite 2 people unless you give up this contact list. So you've consented to this in order to go to that next step. So if you want to join Clubhouse, don't use the 2 friend thing. If you don't ever invite anybody, actually the app asks you a lot. So it'll ask you probably 10 times, do you want to share your contact? And they'll say, oh, it'll be great for your friend. They'll make up reasons and ask you like 10 times. And you have to say, no. And you can't invite anybody to Clubhouse if not. But what they've done, the trickery in here is the consent again. So they get people to consent, and that's legal, to say, I'm going to, in exchange for me being able to invite 2 people, I'm going to give you my contact list. So that is legal.
Yeah, well, in this case, Ramesh invited me on Clubhouse, so I guess
she still has not accepted. She still has not accepted, by the way.
I have not accepted. Well, just for this very fact, Debbie, I'm just concerned about my friends who are very private. I mean, I'm more public, right? I do podcasts and I do webinars and people can find me. But a lot of my other friends do not want to be found or known or on the internet. Like they're low social profile. So it's almost like I'm giving up their consent on their behalf.
Yeah. Right. Right. It's tricky because actually, in order for them to, in order for you to have their contact, they have to consent to you to give it to you, right? So in a way, they're piggybacking off of your relationship with your friends or whoever. My contact list is very boring. It's probably the guy that fixed my furnace or something, the plumber.
No, I have all the CDOs on my speed dial, so I just have to be careful. Go ahead, Ramesh.
Yeah. So okay. So now let's talk a little bit about what Peggy alluded to, right? So Data Diva, right? So she introduces Data Diva. So and then that intrigued me. And then when I first looked at your profile, I said, "Wow, it's good." So, and there are a lot of people. Some of the people who came on our show before, And for example, the one we published as of now, Bill Schmarzo, he called himself the dean of big data in the past. I don't know if he's still calling. So how does this thought of, rebranding yourself Data Diva come to you? And then what has been the experience like since you started doing that?
Yeah, well, I would just tell you that I've always been bitter because as a kid, I never got a nickname. Like people have cool nicknames. Like I know someone named Red. I'm like, damn, I wanted a nickname like that. So I was like bitter that I never got like a nickname growing up. I went to a networking event and it was about like branding and LinkedIn and stuff. And a reporter from the Wall Street Journal, she was one of the facilitators. And she had put us in groups and we were sort of thinking about things. And I gave her my elevator pitch and she said, "Oh, you're like the Data Diva." And I was like, "What?" And we just laughed about it. And one of the other women who was in my group, Yvette Pena, actually, she's like the head of diversity for AARP. She's like, "You should totally use that." And I thought, oh my God, like that's so crazy. I was like really bashful at first. And I thought, this is interesting. That's probably a good way to sum it up instead of like, "Oh, I'm Debbie, I'm from this and that." I thought it'd be memorable. And I sort of snuck it on my LinkedIn page. I put it like at the very end of my headline, and just to see how it would happen. And like the next day, people start calling me, "Oh my God, I love that." So I started using it and it's been, very popular. Like there are people who know the Data Diva and don't even know my name. So they're like, "Oh," because I connect with people. And they're like, "Oh, can we connect together?" And then someone looked at my profile like, "Oh my God, you're the Data Diva. Oh yes, we have to talk." So it's been very successful and it's fun because I've never had a nickname. So it's fun.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's great. So because I always wondered what happens, let's say I'm the guru of something, right? It's like people can say, "What the hell? You don't know anything." So it's like, who call you data guru or anything like that, right? So there is always that side of the things. What will people think of you when you're trying to title yourself, things like that? Okay, it's good. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I've seen people do it and it's been great. It's definitely helped me a lot, like breakthrough, especially because, if you work in certain data areas, sometimes people want to pigeonhole you in those areas where I am data agnostic. So it doesn't matter to me what industry data is, I just like to work with it.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard today and would like to hear more, please subscribe to our podcast on your favorite player like iTunes and Spotify. And please do rate our podcast. Also, please go to our website, www.datatransformerspodcast.com for more episodes, blogs, and information on our speakers. Thank you.